back and got a digital marketing certificate from university. I learned how to do digital marketing. I learned how to use the applications, administrative applications on CRM software.
Welcome to the 1% Edge podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary guests committed to getting 1% better every day. Today's topic, putting in the reps, the secret to growth in sales, life, and beyond. And to help us, I'm honored to have Jarrett Hopper, Vice President of Sales over B2B Partnerships at Savista, an industry-leading healthcare financial services outsourcing firm based in Alpharetta, Georgia, my backyard. He is also a meaning good, lead guitarist for a country band. Welcome to the show, Jarrett.
Well, thanks, Carlos. Appreciate that intro and give me a lot of credit saying extraordinary, but we'll do that.
Well, and I was thinking about like describing it, and then when I said mean, I go, oh wait, someone's going to think it's bad. I mean good. So, really happy to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
All right, so let's start out by kind of defining the topic in your own words. What do you mean by putting in the reps?
Sure. So I'm a big proponent on working out activities that require methodical time. And what I love about the phrase putting in the reps is that working out is an activity that doesn't come easy to a lot of folks. It's something that you have to put in the time and effort every day, the discipline every day, the repetition every day, or at least within a schedule that makes sense to see gradual improvement over time. And so I think it really translates a lot into sales and what we do in the sales industry. You have to learn how to cold call. You have to learn how to market yourself. You have to learn how to network. You have to build those relationships. And that comes through time and practice and diligence and discipline. And so it's putting in the reps in every aspect of what you do every day.
I agree with you. This is my only challenge, and it's something I sometimes see out there. Sometimes, people are looking for the shortcut. So They'll hear something like putting in the reps, cold calls. Great. I'm just going to, I'm going to call 200 people versus 100 people, and I'm going to have more success. Kind of like it's a lean manufacturing process. I'm just going to press this button 200 times, and I'm going to have better results. And I know you're not saying this, but that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's not just about, taking action. It's taking the right actions, right? When we say making the calls, yes, you're going to have more success if you do 100 calls versus 10. But when you do get that individual on the phone, how you interact with them, how you deal with objections, those reps are all over the place. Do I have it right?
No. And you do have it right. And I'm going to come back to you with this. It's just like working out. If you have bad form while you're working out, it's not going to end with the results that you want. So we're always constantly evolving in the gym, in the activities we do, in the sales world, in how we call, our messaging, how we interact with customers, how we send the messaging out in an email, how we use social media tools. There's all of these different areas, just like working out, that once you learn that process, you can really step into it and improve yourself and improve the experience for your customer, which is the most important thing.
Excellent. Well, can you share with us like some specifics? Has it been a challenge in sales throughout your career that you ran into that might have taught you the biggest lesson? I'll even tell you why I'm asking, because I think for most of us, our biggest lessons come by going through challenges and coming out the other side. So is there an example of something like that in your career?
Absolutely, there is. In fact, when I stepped into sales, I came from mostly a world of operations and client success. Like I was known in our industry for pretty much building startup organizations and for building territories, not necessarily from the sales perspective, but from building them operationally and growing them organically. So when I did that, there was a huge learning process in just learning all of the items that I needed to do to network, to reach out to folks, what tools I had at my disposal. I'll give a great example of one. When I got my career start in managing a territory on the West Coast. So I worked for a company that was in the, excuse me, in the healthcare industry. We were what's called a credit balance analysis firm. And what that firm does is that when on patient accounting books in a hospital, you have overpayments. So they reflect in the general ledger as overpayments, and you have to really clear those, or else they appear as a liability on the balance sheet. And it's really not their money, so it's due back to the healthcare payers, which I'm sure, as you can think, is giving money back to an insurance carrier is probably not the most fun or exciting item for a hospital or activity for a hospital to complete. So what my task was is I was, in my mid 20s at the time, went out to the Seattle, Washington area, had one client, which was a major healthcare client at the time, one large health system, and basically had to grow that organically, had to get our name out there, had to use our contractual stipulations, had to figure out who to network with to get in to those hospitals to perform the work that we needed to perform with, had to work with the insurance company that we were contracted with to go in and recover on their behalf because we were an audit firm. And eventually I grew that to be a 5-state territory within a couple of years to do that with hundreds of provider clients that we serviced. But again, it's that organic growth. I'll drive it again, putting in the reps. It's like you pick up a weight for the first time, you pick up a phone for the first time. It just goes right into that perspective.
All right. My next question is going to make me sound like an old man, which my sweetheart reminds me that I probably am. But do you feel like as you hire and grow the organization and as you get older, are the next generation and the ones after that willing in to put the reps, or do they need coaching on that?
I think it's a mixture of both. One of my personal beliefs is to not segment generations, just because there are different perspectives in all generations of where folks come from when they build in. I think that it's hard to teach being hungry in that sense. I think that hungry and that drive is something that inherently comes to some individuals. And I do think that putting in the reps in those perspectives is easier for those individuals because they know it's like, if I want to eat, I got to get it. And that's what's going to happen. Now, the coaching part for individuals that are either new to it or maybe stuck into old ways are really just having the innate ability to learn. If they're willing to listen and they're willing to learn, I think anybody's coachable and teachable. It's just getting them to that point where they are not so steadfast in their own beliefs to not try something different, where it really becomes an issue.
I agree with you, Jerry. In fact, the easy answer is, there's generations, we're hardworking, they're not. And if we're really honest with ourselves, every generation has people that put in more effort, are more comfortable in certain roles versus others. And we need to recognize that, right? It's not just a generational thing, it's a people thing. And, yes, we need to create that standard in our organizations across the whole company, regardless of what their ages are. This is what's expected of you within the organization. And that's good whether you're a Gen Z or a baby boomer, right? We all want that. We want direction of this is what's expected of me. This is what the role is. This is what, where we set the bar. And then as individuals, we can decide to sign up for it or not. And I think that's an important part of it. I do think that the way we coach them sometimes does differ by generation. I mean, something as
Mm-hmm.
silly as even our examples. I was
Mm-hmm.
at a dinner once and someone said, we're really like, on opposite sides of this. We're like Oscar and Felix. And Jerry, you may not even know what that relates back to, but it relates back to an old show called The Odd Couple, where
Mm-hmm.
one guy was super messy, the other one was super neat. And the person he was talking to, this is an individual who was in his 60s, talking to someone in their 30s. And they were sitting next to me and we were at a table over dinner. And one of the things like, well, let's go around the table. Do you know who Oscar and Felix are? And anybody that was maybe 40 and above at that time, yeah, of course. And anybody that was 40 below, no clue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I mean by, taking into account that, the examples that we use, we also got to be mindful of, hey, if you want someone to understand it, they got to understand your examples as well. And some of those might be generational.
Absolutely. And to me, like my personal opinion is to solve that goes into a lot of how the training occurs and really just getting down to the basics of what you're trying to accomplish within that training period. I'm going to use this example because I'm pretty good with IT. And so I have a lot of family members and friends that call me about helping them through applications and helping them do certain things on computers and their devices that they want to use, right? So what I find is that a lot of folks that are feeling insecure about how to use that technology or how to go through a process is that they just jump ahead thinking that, well, I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to jump ahead. And then they get flustered and then they click a million different things all over and they've just caused a larger problem than they need to cause. So what I typically do is I go back to them and I say, all right, let's start at the very beginning. So if they really, like for the computer example, if they don't know how to use a computer, I say, okay, let's start at the beginning. Here's a YouTube video on all of the parts of a computer. What does the keyboard do? What does a hard drive do? What does the screen do? I'll laugh about it with them. I say, this stuff sounds super basic, right? But at the end of the day, if you're learning what those parts are that you're trying to put forth, you're going to have a better knowledge going into it. And then when you're trying to learn those new skills, you're going to be more prepared for it. It's the same way with this. It's the same way in sales. Pretty much any application that you really want to learn and process and be good at, you can do that as long as you're self-aware enough and you're willing to go back and start at the beginning.
Agree 100%. As I was preparing for this, I was thinking through some questions, and I was thinking of our listeners, and some of them might say, Jarrett, of course it's, you say put in the reps because you've made it, you're on the other side of this. What advice would you give for people like that, might be still in that struggle of putting in the reps? And maybe my next question will be that we're all still in the struggle, but I'll get to that next.
Well, and that's actually how I was going to answer that is just because we're here now doesn't mean that we stay here. And I believe that that's something that really drives me is that I always want to be looking to grow. I feel that if you're not growing, that you're dying. So I'm always looking for ways to improve myself. For instance, one of the best moves I made in my sales career is I went back and got a digital marketing certificate from a university. I learned how to do digital marketing. Learned how to use the applications, administrative applications on CRM software. I learned how to use Google Ads. I learned how to use Google Analytics. I learned how to draft emails. And even though we have AI tools in our current landscape like Chat GPT and so forth, I think it's good to use those tools to help your mind work, but not rely on them 100%, just like you would rely on a calculator 100% to do math. So it's using the tools, educating yourself, always learning, always pushing yourself to be better no matter where you're at in the stage of the career. Because if you don't, before you know it, you're going to be in that boat that we just talked about, not knowing what you're doing with the applications that are relevant for today and the models that are relevant for today.
Agree with you. I try to tell folks you're either getting better or you're getting worse every day. There is no just staying the same, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
competition wants to beat you. You know, you might be fighting for a promotion, recognition, whatever it is. You know, you got to constantly be putting in that effort to stay ahead of it all, and call it a competitive thing or just call it common sense, if you will, right? Sure. If you want something, you know, like we talked about before, Pat, you got to be constantly working on it. Just because you worked out last year doesn't mean you're going to be in great shape this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of add to that point, that's why you always have to be doing these types of activities, whether, you know, you're going to the gym and you're set a goal for yourself that you're going to be there 3 days a week to start, or you're going to eat better, or it's, I think a really big important point is this with what we do is making sure, when I say putting in the reps, it really comes down to getting your mind and your body right. Like, you have to be self-aware to do that work on yourself so that you can be a better business person, a better friend, a better husband, better parent, better pet parent. You know, all of those different things that really come into play is, how can I be better as a person and be better, you know, overall in what you do for a living and the other aspects of your responsibilities within your daily life.
So, Jarrett, I'm curious, where does this, I call it a work ethic, come from in your life?
So I'm a Midwest guy, true, like full out. My parents worked in, you know, I would say my parents were very diehard growing up on that you can achieve anything that you want to achieve, but you have to put in the work, that nothing comes easy to you for that. And they really reinforced that with me growing up. Some of my greatest heroes in my life, my grandfather worked at General Motors and was the supervisor at the proving grounds here in Michigan. So saw the first Corvette roll off the line, which is a motorsports guy, I think is amazing. But everybody that I've looked up to as heroes and role models through my life have been guys and gals that have achieved something, but they didn't just get it overnight. It's folks that really had to put in the work to get to where they wanted to be for it. And through some of those highs and lows through my own life, I had to put in that work ethic to get where I was at. Even in college, I went to U of M to be an accounting major, which we might get into a minute. I didn't even think I was going to be in sales. I actually wanted to be a special agent for the fraud division of the FBI. And so I went to U of M Flint campus, which is in Flint, Michigan. I was working full time doing 4 senior level accounting courses, which, if you ask anybody that's in the accounting program, is an absolute insane task or insane progression to try to do. But like I said, I was working full time. I had a goal. I had a dream. I wanted to get to where I was going to be. And then I remember when that FBI rep came to the school and I said, you know, I'm so excited to do this. I was this, 20 something, kid going in there. And I said, but I have this really large concern. And it says that your vision, you had to have 20/40 uncorrected vision and like 20/100 corrected vision. Well, fun Jarrett fact, I'm legally blind without contacts. So when I went in there, I said that to him and he goes, yeah, unfortunately you can't do it. They said you could be somebody that was like riding a desk for the whole time. But I wanted to be like an agent where the action is. Like, I wanted to be that guy. And so that really, talk about something we talked about earlier as a failure, that really hit me here. Like, that was something that thought, well, what am I going to do? And it just so happened that while I was in college, I worked full time as a pharmacy tech, and I would help the auditors that came in to audit the pharmacy that I worked in with reviewing script audits. And my college roommate at the time ended up getting a job for the auditing firm that I mentioned. And it's just like life took me on that path. And I ended up getting a start auditing at a major health system in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And within a year and a half, I was the top auditor in the state for that company.
That's awesome. So, a little known fact, I mean, Jarrett talked about it before the podcast, but me and him both got accounting degrees, and we both ended up in sales. Jarrett, I'm interested, if, for our audience, if they were listening in, what advice would you have for those folks that are either thinking through a degree and they're in that stage of life, or they got whatever degree they got, and now they're thinking about their careers and how the two might be tied together or not? Any advice for those folks?
Absolutely. I think the biggest advice is that first and foremost, go for something that you want to do, but also realize the practicality of what the degree that you're going to get is. Because it's a very, the accounting pathway for me at the time was a situation where I thought, all right, I'm going into business. What is the best pathway to ensure that I have a solid foundation to build my figurative house on career wise? And that was accounting. It was like, everybody is going to need accounting. Like, that's something that, I mean, you don't hear a whole lot of folks get super excited about it either. So it's something that was in demand at the time. And that's no knock to accountants on the line. If you get excited about it, go for it. But it was something that at the time, it was a very solid foundation to build my career on. And from there, it just kind of organically grew. It went from auditing to managing to being a West Coast ops director with 557 providers under my belt, 50 payer clients, and up to 50 direct reports. And then what happened is during that progression, venture capitalist or private, I should say venture capitalist guys recognized my talent. And they said, hey, we really recognize what you do. We respect you in the industry. How would you like to try selling for us? And at the time, I was like, I don't know. Like, this is something that I wasn't really sure of. But what I realized is, and I think this is something for a really good takeaway comment for everyone. We sell every day. No matter what you are doing, even if you are thinking you're not doing sales at all, you're really selling every day, whether that's finding a relationship that you're involved in, negotiating for that car that you want to buy, whether you're going to the grocery store and price choosing and asking what's going on. Like, there's anything that you do in your day, regardless of the most simplistic of tasks to the direct human interactions with the people that you care about, there's a sale involved in that. Now, granted, it's not great to look at everything transactionally, but when you're deciding what you want to do, once you realize that and you can harness it, there's a whole other world out there that a lot of folks can be scared of, transparently, for that. If they go into that sales word, there's some great connotations and there's some bad connotations with it. And all I have to tell you is that sales is exactly what you make of it. I try to be the best example of somebody that I would want to buy from every day. I try to be authentic. I try to support their needs. I act with urgency. I make sure that their needs, I already said needs, but make sure their needs are delivered on time and do everything that needs to be done. And for that, I earned a really great reputation in the industry for just doing things that I honestly would want for myself. And I think that if you act that way, people are going to recognize your authenticity, and that's going to get you way further than anything else.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's I used to do this keynote that we're all in sales, from the CEO to the janitor, but um, there's so much. And as soon as you even say the word sales, let's face it, half the audience is like, ugh. And it's like, okay, let me kick the word sales out. Do we want to influence others or come to conclusions with others about a point of view, whether it's your next promotion or
Mm-hmm.
your raise or being, considered for one job versus another? I go, you may not like calling it sales, but you got to find a way to be a better communicator and be able to connect with someone on a human to human basis. And that's what we're really talking about, is sales behind the scenes, not
Mm-hmm.
bamboozling someone, not tricking someone. That's what you see on TV with used car salesmen in a bad movie, right?
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is build lifelong relationships, and you can't do that by bamboozling people into a product that they don't want or doesn't
Mm-hmm.
meet their needs. And so it's still one of my favorite keynotes to kind of do, but I've kind of come off the pushing on the, hey, let's not call it sales. Do we like to help others? Do we like to come to
Mm-hmm.
common ground with others? And that's it. That's why the skill set's so important. And I got lucky. My career progressed enough that I got into sales eventually, and I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that accounting degree has served me great as I became a leader, an investor, a business owner, and I'm happy I got it. So don't feel like just because you made one choice at age 18 or 20 means that that's your only choice the rest of your life. You can pivot all you want.
Absolutely. And I want to back up what Carlos said there. My accounting degree has served me so well, in my whole career progression. And I should say personal life too. I mean, it's done a world of wonders for me. And you will be, once you have that, you will be have that, or I should say, you will have that respect that you have, or from some of those financial leaders that you would speak with if you do progress down the sales path.
Agreed. All right. So, Jarrett, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So right now, as you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I am the Vice President of Sales over B2B partnerships at Savista. We're an industry leading outcomes based revenue cycle services company. We can help with pretty much any revenue cycle service, including some unique areas: charge master, we do cancer registry, we do accounts receivable management, billing, coding, auditing, pretty much you name it. We serve over 800 clients nationwide, including practice management groups, large scale hospitals, FQHCs, small groups. So, pretty much overall, we can cover the full footprint. And yeah, I would love to chat with you if you're out there and you're looking for a great partner in our industry. We're about as top tier as it gets here at Savista.
And Jared, if someone wanted to reach out and connect with you, what might be one of the best ways for them to do that?
Sure, couple ways. First would be LinkedIn. I have a great presence on LinkedIn. Also, I can be contacted by email at jarrett.hopper@savistarcm.com. That's all one word, Savista RCM.
Excellent. So, Jarrett, what's your 1% edge these days? What are you working on to get a little bit better every day?
Oh man, I'm working on something every day. The best things or I should say, what I'm working on is, one, honing my craft with what I do in the sales profession, looking to be more of an advisor every day versus a salesperson, as I like to put it. Learning the product, making sure that when somebody comes to me, that I can fulfill that continued honesty and integrity that I've carried with me throughout my career, and give them the best of advice of what to do next with whatever they're shopping for, with their needs, what I can supply. Outside of that, I'm big on, as I mentioned, mind and body. I have a religious workout routine. I have a great diet that I made up actually even to travel for salespeople, which is
Tough.
pretty amazing. Yeah. So I did that. As Carlos mentioned, I play lead guitar in a country band. This is my favorite activity outside of work, outside of spending time with my family and friends, to do. And I'm always working on that. Fun Jarrett fact: I'm allergic to caffeine, so playing guitar in the morning is uh, my cup of coffee to get started for the day. It's a way I clear my head. So I go through exercises before I start work and get at it.
You might be the first person I ever met that's allergic to caffeine. That's tough.
It's better than being allergic to gluten. I will say that.
Very, very true.
That's the positive. But it's definitely, it's not fun, especially when if you go to like a coffee shop or even barbecue places, because barbecue places put cola in their barbecue sauce. So you have to watch out for certain things. But I also get a lot of razzing at work, because like I'll meet with someone at a Starbucks and I'll have to get hot chocolate or a tea or something. So it's like, here's 12-year-old Jarrett with the hot chocolate, getting
Nothing wrong with hot chocolate, Jarrett.
Great. It's great.
My first date with my sweetheart, it was cold, and I ordered a hot chocolate. And one of her lines is, I knew you were a man's man because you were okay with ordering hot chocolate and having it in front of me. Go, man, I was cold.
Right. Yeah. Also, own it. Hot chocolate is good. Like it's great. So,
thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jarrett. I really appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with us. I think you had some great points. Appreciate it.
No, this was really fun, Carlos. I appreciate you inviting me on, and hope this provides some value to somebody that's looking to get into sales or try to refine their day to day, I should say.
Thank you very much. All right, folks, this does it for this week's episode. If you found some value on it, please comment back, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you could, follow us. We got episodes coming out every week. We greatly appreciate your support. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the greatest success. Thanks again, Jared.
Thanks, Carlos.